Hey guys, my name is Kayla. Welcome to my channel. My channel is all about motherhood, entrepreneurship, parenting, all of those good things. My husband and I upload twice a week to our channel, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you think you would be interested in any of those topics and seeing some of our videos in the future. So today I wanted to do something a little different from our podcast and our usual vlogs. So today I have my youngest son here. As I'm recording this video, today is February 8th. Yep, February 8th. And he will be 2 months old tomorrow. It's so hard to believe that it's been 2 months. But this is a video that I've wanted to record it for quite some time now. Even before I had him, I've always loved like birth story videos and just kind of people telling their labor and delivery stories. So I figured I would do that today. As well as his 2-month update. But I guess in order for you to get the full story, I have to go back. So Jaxson is the 3rd child in our family. He is the only child who was, I would say, born 100% naturally. And what I mean by that, my 2 oldest kids, I was scheduled for an induction. The first one was medically necessary and the second one was not. So with my oldest child, he is also a boy. My pregnancy went good, everything was going great, and then around, I say 8 or 7.5 months, I told them that I was starting to, I guess, kind of get some weird symptoms throughout my pregnancy. Obviously, I'm a very small person. I've always been very petite, very short, and I had noticed I was gaining a lot of weight. I was almost 200 pounds by the time I gave birth to my son, and my starting weight was like maybe 100 pounds, like barely that. On top of that, my feet would swell. I would see dots. So like if you think of, you know, a cartoon character that got hit in the head by something, they start seeing dots. I would see that as I'm just randomly talking to people. It was a lot of different things that was going on that made me think like, okay, something is not right. So I went to my doctors and I told my doctors, and they just did not believe me. So I went in for a regular checkup. I will never forget this day. I was 38 weeks pregnant. I was taking pictures for Instagram and Facebook, talking about how I was so hungry because the doctor's office was taking forever, as they typically do. And I just remember talking about how bad I wanted a McChicken, because during that pregnancy I would crave McDonald's. I know it's disgusting, but I would crave McDonald's all the time. So the assistant, or like one of the students, comes in, she checks me, she's like, oh yeah, you're fine, go home. Even after I had told her about all of my symptoms, she was like, no, you're totally fine. So as I'm walking out to go to my car, I see a doctor that I had seen previously, and he was like, oh no girl, it's time for you to have this baby, like your body can't take no more. So they literally rushed me to the labor and delivery right then and there. So imagine that phone call when I called my husband, who I think was at work at the time. They had sent him to the post office. So imagine like getting that call in line at the post office. He was like, everybody pushed him to the front of the line. He was in and out and at the hospital with me in no time. So that labor was hard. Come to find out, I had preeclampsia like I figured I did. And I was on magnesium the entire time I was in labor. I was in labor with him for 36 hours. It was the roughest 36 hours of my life. But it was so worth it. But I was in labor for 36 hours on magnesium the entire time. They even made me stay on the magnesium, I think about 4 to 6 hours after I gave birth. And magnesium, if you've never had it, lucky you. But it literally feels like fire going through your bones. Like, it is the worst feeling ever. So although you know, going natural and all of that stuff was not in my radar, I could care less about that. At that point, I wanted the baby here. So we had a few scares. His heart rate dropped a few times, all of that craziness. Thank God again he is here. I did get the epidural, however the epidural did not work. So I ended up having him natural anyway. So I pretty much went through the whole 36 hours just me and the Lord. So yeah, so like I said, it was totally worth it. And obviously I did it again 2 more times, so it wasn't too terrible. But yeah, he's totally healthy today. He will be 6 this year. Everything turned out great with him. So with that pregnancy, I did not have a doula or a midwife. No, I take that back. So I was enrolled in a program that the hospital put me in, where basically a nurse would come to your home. They would give you information about how to take care of your baby, all of that stuff. They gave me a bunch of free stuff. And that was pretty much it. There was no breastfeeding help. There was no help with, you know, any natural remedies, and you know, none of that stuff. So I was kind of left to fend on my own. This was me and my husband's first child. We had no idea what we were doing. Luckily, thank God, we figured it out. Plenty of bumps in the road, but you know, like I said, we figured it out. He's totally healthy. So my second pregnancy, which was, let's see, they are 22 months apart, so not even a full 2 years. She was actually a lot easier as far as my delivery and labor, but the pregnancy was a lot harder. I don't know if it's because I had a girl, but I was sick the entire time. I also had a toddler, so that could have had something to do with it. But that time I knew I wanted a doula. My doula was great. Shout out to you, Brittany. She was great. But I think the program overall, because it was another free program, the program overall did not offer as much like education, I guess, as I would have wanted. Because again, you got to remember, these programs are funded, so like vaccines and all of that stuff was just like the standard, basically. So a lot of that extra research I had to do on my own, which again, is totally fine. It's my child, so I understand it's my responsibility, but a lot of that stuff just was not provided. So like I said, I had a doula. She was great. I knew for a fact this time I wanted to breastfeed also. With my son and preeclampsia, I was so sick because they called it so late that by the time I gave birth to him, I lost weight so quick. I had no appetite. I just could not feed at all. Like, there was no way in the world I could breastfeed him, and it tore my heart up for so long, because he did go through a lot of challenges as far as figuring out what kind of milk was right for him. So he had some stomach upsets, and I mean, it was crazy for a while. So this time around, like I said, my pregnancy wasn't super horrible, but it could have been better. It definitely could have been better. So by the time I got ready to give birth, I basically went into a doctor's appointment again around 38 weeks, and I felt like I wasn't given an option when it came to how I wanted to give birth. By this time I had done some research. I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I went in for an appointment, and she basically told me, hey, we're going to take your baby on this day. This is going to be her birthday, and that's it. I didn't necessarily feel supported in how I wanted to give birth, and you know how it is. I mean, if y'all ever been pregnant, at that time you're just like, okay, look, I'm ready for this baby to get here. As long as both of us are healthy and everything's fine, I'm good. Luckily, that was my story. I was in labor with her. I got induced. I was in labor with her for 4 hours. Everything went great. I was able to breastfeed her. She today is 3, should be 4 in June. I actually breastfed her until I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant with him. So I breastfed her past the age of 3. Which I know is not common, but it's something that I wanted to do. And I'm glad that I did it. Like, the bond that we have is amazing. She is the healthiest of all of my children. And I do think it's because I breastfed for so long. So, fast forward to baby Jaxson. So, we found out we were pregnant. Well, I found out I was pregnant the Friday before Easter. So, on Good Friday, I found out that I was pregnant. It was a shock. Granted, we were not preventing having a baby. And we always kind of had a feeling that another baby was coming. We just didn't know when. So yeah, I found out I was pregnant at 5 weeks. And I waited till the next day to tell my husband. So I told him, like I said, it was around the time of Easter. So I put it in a little Easter egg, and it was cute. He didn't necessarily get it at first. But if you know my husband, you know, sometimes it just kind of goes over his head, and that's okay. But yeah, when he got it, he was super excited. I think it took both of us a second to be like, okay, this is real. Because like I said, we were okay with 2 kids, but we both kind of felt in our spirit that we were going to have another child. So we decided to tell our family that Easter Sunday. Again, I put it in a little Easter egg, and it said like, we are expecting or something, December, whatever. So yeah, that's kind of how we told our family. Our family was excited and shocked because I really think that they thought we were done. But I mean, they were super excited. My aunt and my mama both are like, they spoiled the crap out of our kids. So, and Terrence's mama too, even though she lives out of state. But yeah, our kids are super duper spoiled by their grandmas. I even call my aunt one of their grandmas. So yeah, they're super spoiled, and they were super duper excited. Grayson and Victoria, my older 2 children, Grayson kind of knew because he went through the phase again. You know, he went through the phase with Victoria. Tori being, she was 2 at the time, she kind of understood because, you know, girls are more into like the baby dolls and all of that stuff. But I think it really set in for her as I started gaining weight and she was able to physically see like, okay, something is really happening. But they were both super excited. Actually, funny story, I told Victoria first. She was the very first person that I told I was pregnant because I just had to get it out. So what happened was I took the test that morning and Victoria had just woken up and I was like, Tori, mommy got a baby in her belly. And she was like, a baby? I was like, yeah, Tori, mommy has a baby in her belly. And I remember like going downstairs with my husband and my son and her being like, mommy has a baby. And I'm like, shh, nope. Like, be quiet, it's not their time yet. So keeping her quiet, I think, was the hardest thing. It was a little bit easier for me to kind of keep it in because, you know, toddlers keep you busy and I wasn't just kind of sitting there harping on it all day because I was doing a million other things with them. But yeah, she was the one that I was like, okay, Tori, you gotta be quiet. So like I said, this time I knew for a fact that I wanted a doula. I did not want to go back to the same hospital because I just felt like, number one, I wasn't being heard, and number two, I was kind of pushed into delivering a way that I did not want to deliver. By the way, the epidural did not work on my second child, so I gave birth to her naturally as well. I just didn't want all of that stuff pushed on me. I really wanted to feel like I was in charge of my story, and I'm so glad I did. So I actually did start out with the same practice, not necessarily physician, but the same practice and the same hospital. I stayed with them for just a little while and then I was like, well, I think it's time to go. So we ended up giving birth in Greenville, so I went with the midwife that was there. My experience with them was amazing. I honestly cannot complain about I could about one thing, but it was something minor. Overall, like, the experience was amazing. I ended up getting the midwife that I wanted. The way that their practice works is kind of like a lot of the doctor's offices, to where you have to see everybody just in case, you know, somebody that you don't necessarily know is on call. You're kind of familiar with everybody. So the person that I wanted, I got, and I was super excited about that, the fact that she was on call that day. So that worked out perfectly. Only thing was, it was in Greenville, so we would have to drive about 30 minutes back and forth to my doctor's appointments. But I honestly was like, look, I want what I want when it comes to my child, when it comes to my health, his health. So that's what we did. Another thing I wanted to be different was I wanted to be in the best shape physically that I possibly could be in. And unfortunately, this pregnancy was my hardest. My back and my hips hurt. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if it was because I was just a little bit old. Well, I was 5 years older. I don't know if it was because of that. I guess versus my first pregnancy or even my second. But this time, it was rough. Granted, he is my biggest baby. He had been my biggest baby the entire time. So we knew he was going to be the biggest one. So that could have also had something to do with the fact that my body was not used to carrying that much weight. I didn't gain a bunch of weight with him. I guess in the end I was like 165, 170-ish, something like that. Nothing compared to what I was with my oldest son when I had preeclampsia, but for some reason my body it had a hard time adjusting. So through my pregnancy, I also seeked out a chiropractor, which I tell everybody, if you are pregnant, please, even if you're not pregnant, please find your chiropractor. Like, it was life-changing. So like I said, my pregnancy was pretty rough. I was sick the entire time, even though I was having a boy. So the myth that, morning sickness is only for girls is a lie. Even the fact that, after your first trimester, it'll go away, that was a lie. I was sick up until the day that I had him. Like, that morning I was up sick. So yeah, that's not true. It's different for everybody though. So, you know, whatever. So having a midwife, having a doula, and then my chiropractor were the 3 biggest changes that I wanted to make on behalf of me and my baby. My pregnancy was hard physically. It was also kind of hard emotionally, but because for some reason I was just extra emotional this pregnancy. And if I'm being honest, I think that now looking back on the last 2 months of his life, I think that God was preparing me for what was to come, because these past 2 months have been a lot. And I'll get into that in a second, but it's been a lot. Emotionally, it's definitely been a lot. Yeah, I want to get ahead of myself, but I will get into that in a second. So I would go back and forth to my midwife in Greenville. My doula was, oh my gosh, like, when I say she was amazing, she was amazing. Luckily, my doula was also my friend, so I knew her beforehand. I knew her husband before I knew her. He was in our wedding. He's taken all of our family photos. He even took this picture of Jaxson, what they did together. But he took this picture of Jaxson once he got here. Like, yeah, that's family. So I was lucky in the sense that I was able to go through that experience with somebody that I knew and knew my heart and knew my desires and was willing to really listen to me. I tell everybody, I don't care what your financial situation is. I don't care. You need somebody in your corner. And honestly, one of the scariest things for me this pregnancy, going through it with COVID, because by the time I found out I was pregnant, COVID was already here. So I went through my entire pregnancy throughout this pandemic. And one of the biggest things that was scary to me was the fact that I could only have one person in the delivery room. My husband is a very soft-spoken. Now, don't get me wrong, if you push him, he will go there. But he's a very soft-spoken, he's a very kind-hearted person. He doesn't know a lot. I mean, he's been through 2 deliveries, but he doesn't know a lot about, you know, what's supposed to happen and what happens if this happens and what does this mean and all of that stuff. And even though I knew that if I was put in a situation where I couldn't defend myself, I needed somebody there. That person for the first 2 pregnancies, even with the help that I had, was my mother. And I knew that because she was not able to be there, I had to have somebody. So being able to have that doula, I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And then she also offered so many other services. The plan is to also do a video with her, so we'll go into that hopefully soon in the future. Because she booked now, but we'll go into that in the future. But yeah, she was absolutely amazing. So we did not have as many trips to the hospital, just like, oh, am I in labor, or oh, is something happening, as we did with the other 2 children. But with this one, we did. And mainly that was because, again, I wanted to do everything natural. So my midwives were like, look, there's no induction here. There's none of that. Like, when your baby comes, your baby will come. Calm down. Like, just breathe. They were not going to induce me no matter what. I mean, if it was medically necessary, obviously. But just to be inducing me, no, they were not going to do it. So, which obviously is what I wanted. So, by the time I got to about, I say 8 months or 8.5 months, I thought my water had broke, because mind you, I had been induced both other times. My water had never broken on its own. I never went into labor on my own. I didn't know what that process was going to look like. I had been having Braxton his contractions for, I say, from the time I was like up to 8 months all the way through. Like, they never stopped. And my contractions were not bad. They were in like my butt bone. So if you've ever gotten like a cramp in your butt, that's what it felt like. But it wasn't anything excruciating, or, mind you, I've had 2 other babies natural, so that could be a part of it. And I do have a kind of sort of high pain tolerance, but it was not bad for me, at least. So yeah, I did go to the hospital or triage once, thinking that my water had broke. I'll save y'all the details. It wasn't. Let's just put it that way. I went again. Did I go again? No, I called again. I was having contractions, and they were starting to get a little bit heavier than what they had been before. But because, and her exact words to me were, well, you sound like you're okay, so until you can't talk to me, you know, you should be fine. What? Like, say what? So yeah, I was fine though, thank God. That was actually a week before he got here. So he was actually born the day after his due date. Obviously, this was my longest being pregnant, all of that stuff. So I didn't know what to expect. So the night before it comes, my doula was here, you know, we're, you know, just chilling. She had to leave and go do something. So I'm up eating, I'm having contractions, but I'm totally fine. One thing she had instructed me to do was start listening to hypnobirthing. Y'all, hypnobirthing is like an epidural without the needles. And I'm being so, as a person who is a Christian, when I first heard it, I was like, hypnobirthing? Nah, I'm good. But as I started doing my research and really started listening to it myself, I loved it. And it would put me to sleep every time, like knocked out. So I remember asking her, like, is it gonna put me to sleep when I'm in labor? And she was like, no, just it'll relax you. And y'all, it did. Like, it was the absolute best thing ever. So that night I started listening to it more. It had put me to sleep. I got up, we went to bed, all the kids were in bed. And then I remember like 3 o'clock that morning, I got extremely sick, like just throwing up. And I was like, what is going on? Typically I would get nauseous right before bed, but I would just go to bed and I would be fine. But that morning I was so sick and I couldn't really sleep all that well. So went to bed again, and about 8 o'clock I remember I felt like mind you, we co-sleep. So my daughter sleeps beside me and it felt like she kicked me. And I kind of jumped. But when I jumped, I got out the bed. And as soon as I stood up, it was just water everywhere. So I know this is going to sound crazy, but I have to stop and just say, like, it was only God. Because although we have a bathroom in our bedroom, I typically never use that bathroom unless I'm taking a shower. So I walked out of my carpeted bedroom into the carpeted hallway, around the corner to the bathroom. There was nothing on no floor but the bathroom. And I mean, y'all, I was like, it was a never-ending waterfall. So I don't know how it happened. Praise God, I didn't have to come home and clean up a bunch, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm sitting there, water just everywhere, and I'm panicking, I'm crying, but my kids are upstairs and I don't want, especially my daughter, because she's so in tune with me. I was so scared that I was gonna scare her, and I just did not want to scare her. So I'm like calling my husband. Luckily he was already up because of our business. He had some stuff to do. We were supposed to have somebody come do something in the house that day. It was a lot going on, but luckily, thank God, he was still up and he was not on the road that day. So I get myself together. By the time I get myself together, I don't know what kind of Superman or superhero my husband turned into, but the car was on, the kids was ready, and they was walking out the door, and I was like, okay, like, okay. So we had already had the bags in the car. They had been in the car for like weeks, because I thought that he was gonna come the week after Thanksgiving. I don't know why I had November 27th in my head, but obviously he did not come on that day. So everything was already packed, was ready to go. The kids' bags were already at my aunt's house where they were going. All I had to do was call the midwife, call the hospital, call my aunt. That was it. Well, call my mama, obviously. I did like a group thing where, you know, when that time came, all I did was send out one text message. It's sent to all of our important contacts, and we were good to go. We were on the road. So we get to the hospital at, we walked out of my house at 8:15. We got to the hospital at about 8:45. Yeah, about 8:45. My husband was booking it on the highway. I was more scared of that than I was this baby. So we get to the hospital, and they wheel me up or whatever. And as I'm going in, y'all, I will never forget. We had some of the funniest moments in that time. But as I'm going in, they stopped me at the register. I mean, like the check-in, the register, Jesus, the check-in. And it was an older black lady, and she was like, well, ma'am, can you walk to your room? They're going to go ahead and admit you. I said, ma'am, I'm physically able to walk. However, can I take my shoes off? And she looked at me like, why? I said, ma'am, if I stand up, y'all gonna have to mop behind me, because it was still just all over the place. She was like, no, that's fine. I'll just, when your husband comes up, I'll have him with you. Y'all, bless my baby's heart. He was such, I could tell he was scared, because as my contractions were coming, the baby would stop moving. And typically he would move so much in my stomach, y'all, that people would like could literally see it through my clothes. So he was terrified. So he's holding all of these bags and wheeling me, trying to like hold everything and wheel me at the same time. He's running in the walls, and y'all, it was hilarious. And I'm sitting here laughing in between contractions. So they're looking at me like, oh, her water broke, but she's fine. She'll probably be in labor for, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever, because I was not, I didn't go in there screaming. Like, I was talking to people, I was just fine. So my room wasn't ready. Mind you, I had wanted to have a water birth, but yeah, that by the time I got there, I brought the water with me. Okay, like I did not care. I just wanted my baby to be here and be healthy. So by the time I got here, or got there, and they checked us in, I had to go sign paperwork and all of this stuff, and they went me to the waiting area, like in the lobby. And as I'm sitting there, my mama was at work at the time, so I'm sitting there calling my mom, and I had to call her job to get to her. And I'm trying not to cry on the phone because, again, I wanted my mama there so bad. Like, oh my God, I wanted her there so bad. But obviously she couldn't be there because of COVID. So I'm trying not to cry on the phone with her. She's, you know, in one ear praying. In the other ear, I hear this lady being wheeled by me, and she is screaming bloody murder. I mean, screaming, like, it was crazy. She was screaming. And I'm like, okay. Now I'm getting a little nervous because I'm like, number one, I feel like they're not taking me serious either. Thank God that was not the case. But I felt as if they weren't going to take me serious if I didn't start screaming. So I looked at him and I was like, so should I, like, is that what I need to be doing? But anyway, so we stayed in the waiting room for about 10 minutes. And then they wheeled me to my room. So by the time I got to the room, it had gotten real. Like, they were starting to get intense to the point where they wanted me to, like, take my clothes off, put on the gown. And I had to just sit there. I was like, no. Like, my contractions were, they would come, stop for 10 seconds, come again, stop. And I was like, I can't. Like, I just got to sit here. So eventually I was able to get up and get in bed. Did all my vitals. I would not let them check me because I felt like if they checked me and I wasn't as far as I wanted to be, because I was already at a 3, I think. Oh yeah, I was at like a 2 or a 3 before, like a week or so before. I didn't want them to check me because I said, well, you know, if you check me and I'm not progressing mentally how I think I need to progress, it's gonna make me feel discouraged. I'm not gonna be focused on what I need to do. Just I'll let you know when it's time. So they didn't check me. They left me alone. Nobody touched me. She would come, like, move the monitor on my stomach every now and again, but no IVs, no medication, no epidural, no nothing. And it was amazing. Ari, who was my doula, came and put the my hypnobirthing on. And again, hypnobirthing saved me. Like, once it went on, and I tell people, like, it might sound weird, but I honestly felt as if I was not in my body. I could feel my contractions, and literally I would just push up to get off of my butt where they were, and that was it. Like, it would come, I would breathe, it would go, that was it. But I could always hear that hypnobirthing in my, like, as it was playing. So I stayed in, like, this sense of, it really felt like I was kind of hypnotized. Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but it really, like, calms you. And she wasn't saying anything crazy, but I do remember her saying, like, think of every contraction not as your body attacking you, but think of it as I'm getting one step closer to my baby. So every time a contraction will come in my head, I say, okay, Jaxson, here you come. Like, okay, Jaxson, here you come. Okay, Jaxson. So I would be talking to him in my head the entire time. I don't even think I had any water. Yeah, I did have some water close to the end because it started getting hot. Like, when it was time for him to come, it started getting really, really hot. I was extremely happy that nobody tried to interfere. So as I'm listening to my hypnobirthing, eventually I started feeling like I had to push, and the midwife came in and she checked me, and at that time I was only 6 centimeters, and that was the only time I ever let them check me. And it kind of got me discouraged for a second, and then I kept telling myself, okay, like, bounce back in, get your mind together. So we continued to listen to the hypnobirth the entire, what, 4 hours I think that I was there. So yeah, we kept listening to the hypnobirth, and then I told her again, maybe like an hour or 2 later, like, okay, I think it's the real deal this time. I started to feel my body push on its own, and I knew, like, okay, this is it. So, and plus my entire pregnancy, he was extremely low, which is actually the reason I was in so much pain, because all of that pressure was on my hips and my lower stomach for so long. I mean, he was so low. It was ridiculous. Yeah, so the hypnobirthing really helped. And then the fact that I was kind of able to do it on my own and like allow my body to do what it wanted to do and what it knew to do, really helped a lot for me anyway with the pain. Okay, so again, he was born December 9th, 2020. He was 7 pounds 7 ounces, which is definitely the biggest of all my kids. He was 19, I think, and 3/4 inches long or something like that. So yeah, so as of today, so today is the 8th of February. I weighed him yesterday and he was 13 pounds 6 ounces. As you can see, he is not, ooh, he is not a little baby. But say hey, look. Can you say hey? Look. Okay. He don't want to say hey. Yeah, so my labor and delivery was super easy. So I guess for his update, I have a lot to update. You all, it's been a very long 2 months. As always, it's 100% worth it, but it truly has been a long 2 months. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. So the first night that, or let me go back. So when he was first born, he was born with low iron, no, not iron. His blood sugar was low and his body temperature was low. Mind you, I told y'all I had been sick the night before, so I did eat, but I ended up coming in with nothing on my stomach. So they let me feed him for about 5 minutes, and then they took him to the nursery and gave him a bottle, which I didn't necessarily agree with, but whatever. From that moment forward, he has been having stomach issues to where passing gas, burping, that type of stuff is extremely painful. And yeah, so it's just been hard. They diagnosed him with one thing, gave him the medication is not working. We're actually waiting to go to a specialist on the 25th. So that's the biggest thing. Second of all, he has, that we found out, he has sickle cell, the trait, not the actual disease, but the trait. That has also been kind of, well, that honestly, as bad as that may sound, it hasn't been as trying and as emotionally draining as I thought, or as it may sound. Because number one, his weight gain is so good, and they just honestly do not believe that he will have any issues with it. And I agree, I really do not feel that he'll have any issues with it unless he grows up to play some kind of like extreme sport, or yeah, or he marries or has a baby with somebody that also has the trait. Then it may be a problem. But other than that, you know, we're just staying prayed up, and we don't necessarily see anything being too affected as far as his lifestyle. What else has happened? The latest thing is his skin. So my husband actually has eczema and has had it all his life, but I don't necessarily think Grayson, I mean, I keep saying Grayson, I don't necessarily think that Jaxson has eczema. I personally, as a mother, feel in my gut that is related to his stomach. So again, we will see. But yeah, so this past 2 months has been a lot. We've tried a lot of different things. Other than that, he's a happy baby. He is such a mama's boy, y'all. And I love it. Like, my husband hates it, but I absolutely love it. So this is typically what I'm looking like all day. Like this. I'll get right with it. But again, I love it. He's still 100% breastfed. His brother and sister are madly in love with him, as is everybody else in the family. Like I said, he's well over 13 pounds at this point, so he is a big boy. He loves to eat. What else? So I like Elmo, and I like it when my mommy sings to me. Look at his smile. I would try to catch him smiling, but he has not smiled. Well, I take that back. He didn't start actively, like consciously, I guess, smiling until like last week. And I was getting nervous. I was like, God, is he in that much pain that he don't want to smile? He was smiling in his sleep, but like I couldn't, anything I would do would not get him to smile. He just now, like, yeah. So he's just now, like, that personality is starting to come out, and he's the cutest little thing. It's amazing to me how you know, all of my kids have the same parents. They're growing up in the same household. You know, we're around the same people, and all of my kids are totally different medically, physically, emotionally. Like, it's crazy to me. But yeah, so that's kind of our story up until now. We're still working to try to figure out, you know, what's going on with his stomach, getting his skin together. Like I said, none of my other kids have ever had these issues, so this is something totally new for the both of us. But we making it work. Isn't that right? So yes, I finally got my mama's boy, because my oldest son is a daddy's boy. Yeah, so we finally got him. So that's it, guys. I don't want to keep y'all too long. I could go on and on because, like I said, it has been a long 2 months. But it has been a beautiful thing. He's sleeping good. He's eating good. That's all I can ask for. I can tell now that he's a happy baby. Even though he has a few challenges, but that's okay. You know, my God, I really believe that God made him the way that he is for a reason. Like I said, I believe that I was so emotional and felt like so, I don't know, just I felt every emotion during my pregnancy because God was preparing me for this moment. So I'm so excited that he's finally here. He's a very calm baby unless I walk out the room or put him down or he wants to eat. Other than that, he is his father. Like, he is so chill. But yeah, so that's our little 2-month update. I'm gonna see if I can get him to look at y'all without crying. Hold on, let me see. So yeah, guys, like I said, if you like content like this, if you like content like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We will be doing more mommy videos because, you know, that's my thing. We got some family vlogs coming. We got some finance and entrepreneurship stuff coming, some marriage stuff coming. Be sure to check out the 3 Strands podcast. I don't know, by now we should have maybe 2 or 3 episodes up, so be sure to check that out. And yeah, guys, like I said, make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you back next time, and be sure to leave me a comment. And if you have any suggestions of what I can do for him, or, you know, something I can do better, or whatever the case may be, definitely let me know. If your kids have been through something similar, or maybe even you have been through something similar, let me know. And thank you guys for watching. See you next time.